I'm a Moroccan Jew. My father's Moroccan, Sephardi, and my mother's Ashkenazi. And my customs come from my father, Moroccan, Sephardi. Not long ago, I took a DNA test to find out a little bit more about myself, to find out where I came from and what that DNA story told me. And here's what I found out. I found out that my story is essentially Jewish history. Thousands of years ago, my ancestors lived in what we now call the land of Israel. And it became the kingdom of Israel at one point. And the kingdom lasted for basically 1,000 years. You had King Saul that started the kingdom, King David, and under King David had this vision to centralize the people, centralize government, centralize spiritual expression in Jerusalem in a temple. And his son, King Solomon, built that temple. And there were two temples. At one point, it was destroyed by the Babylonians and rebuilt. And the kingdom of Israel lasted for roughly 1,000 years. And in the year 6, the Common Era, the Romans conquered the land of Israel and called it Judea. They named it that because of the tribe of Judah. And people of Judea were there living as they did before and praying in the land of, praying in Jerusalem at the temple. And following a revolt, the Romans destroyed the temple, sacked Jerusalem, and many people were persecuted. Jews faced death by many means, death by crucifixion, and there were Jews that were exiled and brought into slavery into the Roman Empire. Now, whether it was through slavery or other means, other ways, Jews made their way through the Roman Empire. And that's what my story tells me. My DNA story shows this rooted, the roots in the Levant, in Israel, shows the life in Italy, what we call Italy now, but the Roman Empire. And that lasted for a significant amount of time. And at some point in history, the Jews, at least in my DNA story, went from Rome and ended up in Spain and Portugal. And Spain and Portugal is known in around the 11th century, 12th century to have been a golden age of the golden age of Spain and the golden age for the Jewish people in the Sephardic in Spain. Sephardi, for those who don't know, means Spanish, from Sefarad, Spain. So my DNA story tells me that Jews were, my roots were in the Levant, then Italy and the Roman Empire, in that region that we now call Italy and surrounding that area, and then Spain and Portugal. And Jews were there from 700, 800, and continued to settle in Spain over the years. And there was a Jewish presence there for a long time, and until 1492, the Spanish Inquisition. Jews left before then at some point for certain, but by 1492 was the great calamity that forced Jews to convert to Catholicism, flee, or be killed. And clearly, my ancestors, one way or another, made their way out of Spain and Portugal and into Morocco. And so from 1492 till the 20th century, it's roughly 500 years of presence in Morocco. And there were Jews in Morocco prior to 1492, but the significant migration came as a result of the persecution in Spain. So my father's from Marrakesh, and that lineage would be about a 500-year or so or longer presence in the land of Morocco. When the state of Israel, the modern state of Israel, was established in 1948, the Arab world became a lot more hostile to the Jews of their countries, including in Morocco. And my own family, my grandfather took his children and left with essentially nothing via France and into Canada. So when I look at that story, at my father's story, my father's lineage, my lineage, I see Jewish history, and I see that Jewish history is a story of survival and of perseverance in the face of persecution, marginalization, subjugation, and genocide. Jewish history is the story of a colonized people dispersed throughout the world for 2,000 years. And it is a story of the rebirth of its homeland.